Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's B.E.S.T standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go, I see you. And let's dive into today's B.E.S.T standard. Hey everyone, my name is Sarah McCarthy and I'm so pumped that you are joining me as we break down the following standard, which is MA.3.M.2.1. Oh my goodness, I love these time standards. Okay. This standard says using an analog clock, which looks like this, and a digital clock, which looks more like this. We're going to use those to tell and write or record the time to the nearest minute using AM and PM appropriately. Oh my goodness. All right. Before we dive in, I just want to let you know that this document that I'm marking up all over is not something that I created. This is something that the Florida Department of Education provides to the public, so it's absolutely accessible to you. I'm just showing you how I use what they provide and break down to study the standards, analyze them, and see what it is that I need to create for you to make it strategically aligned to the standard, all right? Okay, so the clarifications say that within this benchmark, the expectation is not to understand military time. Military time is like, instead of saying 3 p.m., we would say 1500, right? So we do not have to worry about that. All right, what connecting benchmarks do we have? Well, we've got the MA.3.M.2.1, which is measuring length, liquid volume, and temperature. And you might be thinking, how does that have anything to do with what we're doing? We're measuring with time. It's a measurement standard, and it's being able to use a number line to figure out what certain markings are, which we have to do on a clock. So in second grade, where are they coming from? Well, in second grade, they performed basically the same standard, using the analog and digital clocks to tell and write time to the nearest 5 minutes. So they counted by fives last year. This year, we're going to the nearest minute. And then in fourth grade, we have measurement real world problems, which involve time, that is for sure. Okay, before we dive into the purpose and instructional strategies section, and before I point out the things that jumped out at me, I do want to say that students really tend to struggle with telling time. I'll show you later McCarthy Math 155, which is with the gold membership, that I was very intentional about every day, every video lesson has a time problem at the end. I was a third grade teacher for a while, and I know the struggle when it comes to telling time. And time units tend to be very short, very brief, and students, I've noticed, have a lot of hard time with it. So what I encourage you to do is to break this into a daily thing, telling time every single day, having one little problem that you do. If you have the gold membership, you do have a daily problem that you can do at the end of every video lesson, which I will show you in a little bit, okay? So just know they need more practice than just one unit. It needs to be an ongoing thing. It says that in grade 2, students tell and write time on an analog and digital clocks to the digital clocks to the nearest 5 minutes, including using the language that I think this should be that expresses fractional parts of an hour, like half of, half past, quarter of, and quarter after, and quarter till. You'll see in a second that I was intentional about making a video lesson dedicated to just that language, all right? We got to make sure that we connect how students can count by fives and ones to identify the exact time on an analog clock. So this is kind of breaking down how to do 3:19. You count by 5, land on the 3, and then count ahead 4 more minutes to show 19 minutes. But also to be flexible with that, because students could count by 5s and get to 4 on the clock and then count back to get to 3:19. So these are great for number talks or math talks, whatever it is. If you ask your class, what time does this clock show? And a student explains how they do it, you could then open it up and say, okay, who else got the same answer but did it a different way? It's so good to bring in those flexible representations and a variety of ways to solve it. Here I mentioned that Judy clocks are good, virtual clocks, and number lines. Here I mentioned that number lines are great for elapsed time, which we will see in a different standard coming up. And also they mention here that folding a number line as a circle around the clock to show that it was a linear representation that's kind of gone in a circle. This is the common misconceptions and errors that students can make. It says that students can misrepresent the location of the hour hand. This is the big thing. And I said, yes. As the minutes start to get closer and closer to the next hour, that hour hand gets closer to the next hour, and students can get all messed up. So there's a lot of practice with this. I told you already that in McCarthy Math 155, the gold membership, that we do a lot of practice with this. And my strategy is to always figure out what the minutes are first, where the minutes are represented on the clock to help me determine what hour it's in, which I go through in the video lessons. I would definitely say to check this out if you need some more information. We're not going to go into that part right now, but look, we've got here's an instructional task. So these tasks show you what the standard looks like in action. So right here, we've got a digital clock, 8:13, and then students are expected to represent it on the analog clock, which is right down there. And here is using AM and PM appropriately. It does say in the morning, right? So having to figure out the time for the clock. Okay, and this is a good one too, because you can see the hour and the minutes aren't much different looking, but the minutes do go a little bit longer than that hour hand. So having students determine which one is the hour hand, which one is the minute hand, and how do they know? All right, that is the standard. So we are recording time to the nearest minute. Let's see what you have access to with your memberships that are aligned to these standards. So here we are on the website. You're going to click right here, members enter here. Select taking on the B.E.S.T. We'll get to McCarthy Math 155 in just a second. And you might have to log in there. Click third grade. Which strand do we want? We are on the measurement strand. And we are on MA.3.M.2.1, telling time to the nearest minute. Whatever membership you have, everyone has access to these bronze level resources, which are video lessons. So you can see this video lesson is about the analog clock. This one is about telling time going from analog to digital. And this video lesson is about telling time going from digital and placing hands on the analog clock. You also have your printables right over here. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to go ahead and click on the silver plan so I can show you. You can see you can go back to those bronze resources at any time, but I want to show you the printables that you have access to, which also incorporate those video lesson printables. So here we have, this is one of the bronze resources because it's a video lesson right here. This is the analog clock review. So we're telling the difference between AM and PM, taking time for that. What do the numbers on the clock represent? Talking about our hour hand and our minute hand and how it changes. Here's terminology: 4:30, half of 4, a quarter past, a quarter till, a quarter of. This whole video lesson is dedicated to that terminology and what an analog clock looks like, okay? Then, if you have the silver or the gold plan, you have access to the extra practice pages. Okay, with a little bit more practice, it says here, which meal would you most likely eat at 6:30 a.m.? Explain how you can use numbers on the clock to place the minute hand at 48, so using it in words. Same kind of thing as what we did in the video lesson. This is the next video lesson. So on the bronze page, find the one that says telling time, analog to digital, and then you have this. This is what we're going to go over. Here's the clock, and we're going to practice reading the clock and writing the time on the digital clock. And look right here. See how this minute hand is super close to the next hour? This is where students tend to make their mistakes thinking, oh, it's 5:57, when really it's 4:57. We're just a couple minutes away from it being 4 o'clock. That's why the hour hand has shifted over. And this is where that Judy clock can come into play, because students can see as you rotate the minute hand around where the position of the hour hand, how it moves as we go around. And here's some extra practice. Then the third video lesson is telling time digital to analog. Here's the digital. We're placing hands on the clock to show it on the analog clock. And then you've got some extra practice. Okay. And then this one is a math mission. So it's putting all the elements together into a math task. So here it says the third grade class is at Pinecone Elementary. Go to the cafeteria for lunch according to the schedule below. So here's their lunch times, and then students will have to label and model the lunch times on the clock below. Here it says Annalise says that Mr. Hamburg's class goes to lunch at 11:30 in the p.m. Explain Annalise's mistake. So I'm seeing a couple there with Mr. Hamburg, because that's 11:15, and she probably wouldn't be eating lunch at 11:15 p.m. at night, right? So there's answer keys for these for sure. And then finally you have the math misconception mystery, which is another video lesson. It's on the silver plan. You just click right here and I guide you through that whole process. First, students will solve the problem on their own. Then they will watch as 4 characters, who are just me, dressed up in silly costumes with silly accents, solve that same problem. 3 of the characters will make a mistake, and only 1 character has the correct answer. So students have to listen, they have to be paying attention, they have to justify their answers and figure out what the characters did that were correct, what the characters did that was not right, and then they complete this detective report answering the questions. Okay? Of course, you got your answer keys right here. And if you have the gold membership, just click there and you can go back to the bronze and the silver at any time. One of the perks of being a gold member is that you have the Breaking Down the B.E.S.T video, these videos right there with all of your resources. Now, these videos are also available on YouTube. They do contain ads, so it's just a nice little perk of being a gold member. But the main reason for getting the gold membership is because you wanted the mini assessments. So here's a copy of a mini assessment. It's just like 4 to 5 problems depending on the benchmark, right? Okay, you can see the variety of question types that we have going on there. Got error analysis right down there. Okay, answer key. And then here we have McCarthy Math 155, which is a daily math intervention that's aligned to the Common Core standards. Now, I know that we are working on the B.E.S.T standards now, but there are a lot of skills that do come over that can support our students. So I had a lot of teachers in schools ask me to include this, and this is where it is. The cool thing with McCarthy Math 155, if we click on 3rd grade, by the way, the 155 stands for 155 video lessons. And what I did especially for 3rd grade here was that in every single lesson at the end, there's a portion of the episode that's dedicated to telling time. We start really basic and then we get to the nearest minute. So if we scroll down, other than this time unit at the end where we practice telling time, there's a lot there. Elapsed time, telling time, missing start time, all of that. There's so much there. Like just this unit alone, I'll show you. Time terms, 5-minute intervals. This is kind of bridging 2nd grade into 3rd grade and then starting to tell time, right? Okay, there's all of these videos. We got elapsed time, which is coming in the next standard that we talk about on Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Okay, there's all these videos. There are, let me go back, 16 video lessons dedicated to time. But I want you to know that every single unit, I'm just going to pick a random unit. Let's pick patterns. Every single unit at the very end has a moment in time where we practice telling time on the clocks. So if you want to just open up, if you have the gold membership and every day you want to play a video lesson and just scroll to the end where we're talking about the time, do that, because that constant practice is going to get your students more comfortable, so that way when you get to your time unit, you can rock and roll with elapsed time, which is super fun if you know how to tell time on a clock, if your students know how to tell time. So definitely one of the biggest perks is McCarthy Math 155 specifically for that time standard. Okay? All right, I think that's it. I hope that you're able to see that you have so many resources dedicated to the standard that we just broke down today, that there's so much at your fingertips, and I hope that you feel fully supported. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm right here. So just email me. I'm happy to answer anything I can for you to support you to the best of my ability. And before we go, let me remind you that what you wake up and you do every day with your life, it really does matter. Thank you so much for stepping into the leadership position that you're in, leading your students to success, giving them the tools that they need to be prepared. Thank you for inviting me into your classroom, into your educational space. That means the world to me. I love what I get to do. I love being able to support you. And I hope that together we're able to help encourage students to step into the best version of themselves. So with that, I'll let you go because I know you're busy, and I will see you in an episode real soon. All right? Bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.